What musical education do you have?
I don't have any musical education. I still kind of consider myself an amateur in terms of music. I just started making music for my first feature film Away, which I did in 2019. And I still don't play any instruments. I wrote the music on my laptop, basically electronically, and I just write these MIDI notes and then have these samples being played using some sound libraries. Um, and and yeah, with Flow, the music had to be somewhat more complicated. Away used like very minimalistic cues and very more kind of sound designy like atmosphere, but Flow had to have more complicated cues. So I did the initial versions of the music myself, but later I collaborated with Rihards Zalupe, who's a lot more experienced.
What kind of music did you want it in flow? Because if I think of animation, the first thing I think is anime music.
Well, I wanted to find something that's very specific and unique to this film, and so that's why I never use temp scores from other films, which is a technique that sometimes filmmakers and editors use music from other films and ask the composer to make something similar but different. And I don't think that's a creative way of working. And instead, I make these cues while I'm still writing the script. I work on the music and the script at the same time. So not only to help me figure out the atmosphere and the tempo, but even it gives me ideas for the story, which is crucial. And and yeah, because there's no dialogue in Flow, the music plays a huge part of the experience. It has more room to explore things, and there are some really extended scenes where it's just the music and there's almost no sound effects. And I wanted the music to be somewhat simple, but to kind of build these emotions on kind of layers of different kind of arrangements and different kind of sound combinations. Um, what is I think unique or kind of paradoxical or unexpected, I guess, is uh, for the more emotional scenes we actually used more kind of electronic instruments, but for the more playful and fun parts we used more acoustic instruments. I didn't want just an traditional orchestral score. I wanted something that's very specific to this film. But we did actually record a big string orchestra, which was really exciting for me to hear these themes which I'd written on my laptop actually be performed by this huge orchestra. It was 32 string players, and that was it was really emotional part of the process for me.
What music did you write first when you were on the sketches?
Yeah, so I wrote the music while I wrote the script, and I wrote a lot more actually than we ended up using. I made like I think 7 hours of
That's a lot.
library of cues, and so this gave me options to pick from, and I could choose the best one. And of course, some of them didn't fit the film perfectly because I wrote them before, but I can always go back and forth and adjust the edit and adjust the music, which I think is important for. In this case, I was doing the editing of the picture and the music myself, but even if it would not be one person, I think it's important for the picture editor to work with the composer to collaborate, and then yeah, we fine tune these cues to fit with the exact scenes. But yeah, I don't. When I wrote these scenes, I didn't think about particular themes or particular characters. I'm just playing and exploring things, and I think that way you can kind of find some happy accidents and come up with ideas that are not really like the most obvious solution. And I think you can, yeah, discover some things.
because my feeling was you don't have particular themes, I would say, for your hero, the cat, maybe for some other animals, but not for the cat. More general feelings like you are afraid because the water is rising, or for the empty cities they were on the boat going in and the birds, but not particularly for the cat. Why not?
There is a motif that sometimes recurs when the cat is doing something, but it's not very obvious. I didn't feel necessary to kind of, always remind people that it's the cat because it's always there, so it would just get repetitive and boring. But yeah, so as I mentioned, I do these cues in pre-production, and it was really Rihards, the other composer, who helped make sure that everything is more cohesive and works together as a whole, and he would interweave this. Take a cue which I'd used in a scene with a dog, and he would take these moments and maybe like add some elements to that other cues. So there is this kind of it works as a whole much better. And so I think it was really helpful to work with Rihards, who could like bring it to another level, because I'm not very, as I said, I'm very instinctual. I don't have much technique in terms of music.
You have many financial backers for the film, and sometimes here in Germany it's so when you have backing from, I don't know, Bremen, for example, you have to do certain things in the film. Was it so for you that you have to use facilities, I don't know, in France, and they said to you, Richard, he's a good composer, but we don't know him, and Western Europeans don't know him, but it's better we use some other composer, a name.
So it was done in Latvia, France and Belgium, but Latvia was the biggest part of these, and we did all the music in Latvia, so we could do whatever we wanted. But we did record the orchestra in Latvia, and that was always known that I would do the initial version of the music myself. There was no pushback from any other production companies, and because we'd done that music early as well, I think it helped to convince everyone that it would work. It wasn't just like a late addition. It was really from the beginning, while we were already pitching the film, we had some sketches, and that really, I think it's really helpful to have the music early, because sometimes it's really hard to convey some emotional ideas with words. Sometimes it's just easier to show it through music, and no, it was quite easy. We recorded with Sinfonietta Riga, which is a really great orchestra. They won many international awards, and so for me, actually, the music process was one of the most fun and smooth of all the filmmaking process. There were a lot of technical challenges in other parts of the animation, but with music, it was really enjoyable for me.
You don't have a song in your film. Why not? Because the expectation is also when we have the end credits, there's a song.
Well, there is no dialogue in the film. I think it would be quite jarring that suddenly we would hear singing. No, it was never considered, but yes, the ending cue is really important. It's the last thing people hear, and it like leaves you the final impression. It's what you kind of remember from the film. It was actually, we recorded this music quite early with the orchestra, and then we had to make the credits, but we had this cue which was not that long, and we had to make the credits really fast to fit the music. We hadn't really planned it out that well, but yeah, even that music, there's a scene actually after the credits, which wasn't in the script, It was a very late addition to the film, and this music, which I decided to put in the credits, gave me ideas for that scene. And yeah, if it would be like a song, maybe there wouldn't be that very crucial scene after the credits.
Many journalists during the press screening left during the end credits, and so not many have seen the last scene. Why did you put the last scene in? Because also cinema goers just leave the cinema.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have like an extra reward to the most dedicated fans. It's not for everyone. You actually have to work for it to receive this thing, and it's also it's nice that sometimes you can watch the film again and discover new things. And the credits are actually pretty short. They're just 2.5 minutes. Usually credits in big blockbusters can be 10 minutes, so you don't really have to wait that long. But it was a very late addition to the film, so it wasn't in the script, and I think the film works without it. But if you do see this extra scene, you might get a different interpretation. And I wanted the film to be enjoyable on the first watch, but there are things you can discover when you watch it again. There are multiple kind of hidden Easter eggs or kind of things that kind of can change the way you interpret the film. I think it's nice to have like hidden meanings in the film.